bad at all. Repeat of the last couple of weeks. I did have a couple text messages over the weekend. People were saying, I thought it was the dry season because we have these showers passing over the island. And sure enough, we're still in the dry season, but we're starting to get into that transition phase. So we're going to have little pockets of showers and maybe an isolated thunderstorm now and then, but then we're going to still have phases of dry weather. So right now we're going to be in that dry phase, but eventually over the next month or so, we're going to be battling it out between the dry season and the coming wet season. So let me turn the camera around and show you what we're looking at this morning. Not much out there, just some spotty showers. It's a lot of sunlight out there, but some passing showers over the island. Zipping right by. They're not sitting in place, but they're moving right on by. And that's much the scene well upstream of us across the ocean to our east. All the showers and thunderstorms do persist across Micronesia, much where they've been the last several days. And you can see that lightning glittering across there in central and eastern Micronesia. That's where the convection's been holding steady, and that's going to be the scene for the next, at least for the next week. We're going to see a little bit of that stuff bubble northward that could give us a slight chance of thunderstorms around midweek with a little bit more moisture, maybe a brief round of scattered showers. But again, most of that action is going to keep to our south, where you see all these colors down there. So Jason, let's cue up the slides and we'll go into the forecast. So not much to speak of as far as headlines are concerned. Moderate risk of rip currents for Guam and the CNMI along east-facing reefs. The fire danger is down to moderate thanks to those showers that we had over the last several days. For Micronesia, the winds are howling across eastern Micronesia, so we have a small craft advisory in effect for Chuuk, Pohnpei, Kosrae, and Madro. The next slide, the current conditions holding steady across the board at 81 degrees across Guam and the CNMI. Winds are generally east to northeast at about 12 to 14 miles per hour. Dew point 75 degrees. Humidity up there around 84%. It feels like 87 degrees. Our rainfall yesterday just under a dime. The record for the day at 2.92 inches, set way back in 1964. And for the month, we are above average at 5 inches, but just below average for the year. The next slide, our drought conditions are easing across the region. And that's the good news because of all the showers across Micronesia, plus the spotty showers we saw across the Mariana Islands the last several days. We do have a drought statement still being issued every 2 weeks for the Northern Marshall Islands. And so we've been putting out this bi-weekly drought information statement since, I believe it was March 19th, 2020. So we've been putting out routine drought statements for the region for over a year now. Hopefully we can end that in the not too distant future if we can get more rains for the Northern Marshall Islands. The next slide, no current invest areas by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. That's the good news. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later because there is some chatter on social media on different pages, if you watch any weather pages, that there could be some development in the region later in the week, and that's going to be all west of us, any possible development, but currently no suspect areas by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. Nothing that's really catching our attention in the observations and satellite imagery. The next slide, this is the polar orbiting winds over the ocean surface. We are watching a pretty robust trade wind pattern across the region. And you see that circled area, that's 20 to 25 knot winds just east of Kosrae. That's what's generating those small craft advisory conditions, the hazardous seas and the hazardous surf across these islands. So those winds would be howling. The greens, those are 15 to 20 knot winds over the open waters. This would be the scene, at least for the eastern parts of our viewing area, at least through the end of the week. The next slide, combined seas today and through much of the week will be about 5 to 7 feet with a east swell. That's our dominant trade wind swell right now, and that's going to continue through the week at about 4 to 6 feet. That's going to drop a little bit, but we could see a little increase in a long period north or northeast swell from a system well up in the North Pacific. And the tides, we have a low tide earlier this morning at 1.8 feet and a high tide coming up at 9:43 this morning. And again, that polar spectrum on the lower right, that shows where our swell is coming from. And that's all trade wind swell out there. So watch out there if you're on the waters. For the week ahead, if you go to our webpage and you click over Guam on our homepage, weather.gov/GUM, You click anywhere on the island itself, and that'll give you this pictorial display laid out for the week. This is something that I think many people are not aware of, but click on the island and you get a detailed forecast for the week. Today, probably the most sunny across the Mariana Islands, isolated showers. Winds will be up there about 15 to 20 miles per hour, combined seas 5 to 7 feet, wind waves 3 feet, and east winds over the water at 15 knots. We do have a moderate risk of rip currents for surf of 6 to 8 feet along east-facing reefs, lesser surf to the north at 2 to 4 feet, and 1 to 3 feet on west and south-facing reefs. We're not going to see much change through tonight and Tuesday, but we do have that weak disturbance that's going to pass to our south, and that could give us a little uptick in showers as well as a slight chance of thunderstorms, primarily for Guam, not so much for Rototinia and Saipan. So midweek, mostly cloudy, isolated showers, slight chance of thunderstorms. East winds at 10 to 20 miles per hour, combined seas still holding steady at 5 to 7 feet. And this weekend, back to the drier conditions, but we could see more showers around Sunday into early next week. We could see some of the long-range models are showing more moisture for the Mariana Islands as this wetter pattern across Micronesia shifts northward. That could give us a wetter start to next week. So we'll have more information later in the week. So check out our webpage as well as our Facebook page at U.S. National Weather Service Guam for the latest. Now, one last thing, we did put out information on our homepage. And if you want to come back to me, Jason, I'm going to show you the webpage. We did put out some information on our radar outage. That's been an ongoing outage since February 7th, I believe. We put information, if you go up to the top of our webpage where it says news headlines, click on update on extended outage and status of WSR 88D radar and its ongoing maintenance. This is where we're going to be updating information. Right now, there's no significant new news about the radar outage as repair teams continue to do work. We're waiting for more parts to come by shipping, and hopefully we'll start getting more operational use out of the radar before much longer. And so our prospects currently look good as far as the parts coming in, and we'll soon have more use of the radar. And that's all I've got.
All right. Thanks a lot, Landon. Have a great
Y'all have a great day.
You too, my friend. We'll see you. It's work week weather, probably brought to you by Docomo Pacific. At 8:26, we'll take a really quick break, and we're coming back with Dr. Michael Lum right here on the link.
McDonald's. Get the job done the right way by getting